Hi, everyone. Lisa Schmitz here with Do Something Indy, coming to you from my studio, the Mars Hill Art Center, and hosted and produced by Chateau de Mars Hill Studios. And I am super excited about tonight's guest. I don't even want to give you an intro because I want her to share her story. But I do want to say that I have been connected to Sarah Lacey for a number of years, probably close to 10 years, not quite as long as she's been hosting Linking Indie Women. But she has not only a personal amazing story, a story related to her launching Linking Indie Women and why she decided to do that. And then also kind of an amazing career story as well. So we may not touch on all of those tonight, but in the spirit of Women's History Month, I definitely wanted to get her on this show. And in honor, I am wearing my Linking Indie Women t-shirt as a former speaker of Linking Indie Women. So producer John, will you bring Sarah on?
Hello.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
I am so excited to have you. Absolutely excited to have you. So and my first question for you is, do you recall how we met?
I do. It was interesting. It was all serendipitous, right?
Yeah.
I was at the, oh gosh, a speakeasy where I was hosting an event, and you had a group, I think, I want to say it was an Edge mentoring group.
Yes.
Potentially up in the loft area, and we had just finished our Linking Indie Women, and you peeked over the balcony and was like, hi, I'm Lisa, and I've been listening to your group. And then we connected, and we had some mutual past work history connections, and it's and the rest is history, right?
Absolutely. So I want to say you had only been hosting Linking Indie Women at that point, maybe a few years.
Yes, we were probably in year two, early year two.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take that moment in time, and I want you to describe Linking Indie Women, like how you were inspired to start it and what it is.
Okay. Yes. So I've grown up in Indy all my life, and I found myself working in the startup community. And as we all know, in Indianapolis, that community is rich with lots of history of acquisitions, and we just have a really great community of in the startup culture. However, I found myself in a lot of networking events where it was just a lot of men. And I found myself in a situation where I was really craving uh, connection in a way that I wasn't getting through going to networking events, passing around business cards, etc. It just felt very empty.
Yeah.
It was before Brene Brown. It was before, vulnerability and empathy in the workforce. It was just like I was missing something. And so I went to this event at the Skyline Club, and it was a CEO event. My boss at the time said, "Go to this event. You can have my ticket." And so I was in a sea again of men, and I look over, and there's one woman, and her name was Cecilia Whitfield, and we gravitate towards each other. We sit next to each other, and she just starts telling me her story. And we're there listening to Brad Stevens, coach of the Boston Celtics, Butler, and Cecilia and I just start talking. And I was like, "Well, what do you do?" She starts telling me her business, and essentially, she started a business from scratch called Use What You've Got. She found herself going to visit a family member in one of the state prisons here in Indiana, and found that there weren't a way for other people to connect with their families. So she started driving people. Then she started renting buses, and then next thing you know, she's got this business of. I mean, this was going on for 20 years before I met her. And it was one of those stories where I just was like, oh my gosh, like we need to hear more stories about women like you in our city. And essentially she had buses going to all of the prisons to keep all the families connected,
Wow.
and built this organization out of love and passion for our city and for those people.
Yeah.
So she was our first speaker of Linking Into Women, and Linking Into Women is based on the premise that there are these amazing women in our city, and they all have stories. We all have stories to share. Doesn't matter if you're CEO. Doesn't matter if you know are a race car driver or we've had Pippa Man, and it's having a platform for us to share our stories, but also connect in a very genuine, authentic way that we do as women. And yeah, we've been doing it for 11 years. We meet monthly, the third Wednesday of the month, and we started out at in Noodles and Company meeting in the morning. We outgrew that. Then we went to the speakeasy. We were getting like 75, 80 women. Then we were outgrowing that, and then the Hatch reached out to us, and yeah, I mean, it's just been the community. Sorry, my dogs are barking. The community has just grown tremendously,
Yeah.
and we're still going.
So I can recall looking over the edge of the mezzanine, the top floor in the speakeasy. And I'm an early morning person, so I would get there super early. And so on these Wednesdays, I'm seeing all these women come in. I'm hearing these speakers and just kind of like accidentally hearing and thinking, I need to know what this is. Like I feel like I need to be down there and not up here, which is why I said something to you. And I was so grateful that I did, because you've brought in some amazing and inspiring speakers. Give me a few that you think, just like really resonated with the audience and really made an impact on the people that were listening.
Well, and I don't want to be, too, uh, I,
No favorites.
sad
You're
stories,
not having favorites. Yeah.
the sad stories either, but we've had two. I think we've had, gosh, we've probably had 100 speakers over the
Yeah.
past year, or 11 years. But we've had two that passed away, and one was her name was Denver Hutt,
Yeah.
executive director of the Speakeasy, in her mid 20s when I met her, and just a force of nature. She was a transplant. So I always felt like this is somebody who loved our city unconditionally and wasn't even from here, and from California. And she saw the value of how we were able to connect as women. And she was my biggest cheerleader behind the scenes. Opened up for me at the Speakeasy every morning. But what I really loved and learned about her story was, be kind to strangers, open the door for people, and the fact that she continued to make an impact while she was battling, you know, uh, a cancer and a terminal illness was just so inspiring to me, and is part of our legacy and part of what we're really all about, for sure. So yeah.
I'm glad you brought her up, because I was going to actually ask you about your relationship with her, because you guys were really close, right?
We grew a bond. I mean, there's an age difference for
Yeah.
sure. We're different. That's the thing about women and how we connect, right? We build communities, and it transcends age and industries that we're focused on. And but she was extremely passionate about keeping it going. If I said, because I do have a job outside of Linking Any Women, and I'm very passionate about my career. And she was just like, the community needs this. Where are you? Like, we need to keep going,
Yeah.
even when she was battling what she was doing. And so we grew an extreme close bond around helping women in our city. And yeah, we had a bucket list, and yeah, she was a force, right?
Yeah. I wish I had known her. She was gone when I became a member. By the time I became a member at the Speakeasy, and I hear all the stories, and And just like what you said, I mean, she just did so much for women in our community and for our community as a whole.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, speaking to your job, tell us about your day job.
So I love technology. I've been in that space a very long time, and I work for a company based out of the West Coast, Adobe, and I love it. I get to watch technology change people's lives, transform how businesses operate. I get to work with much cooler people than me. And I just really enjoy I enjoy the innovation, and it's always changing. And so I really enjoy the pace too.
So, tell me
Yeah.
what that's like to balance a day job and an organization that gives back so much and inspires community and is, I mean, not really a side hustle. We don't have to
Mhm.
pay to come to these events, and it's
Mhm.
something that you do out of the goodness of your heart. So, how is it about? What is it like for you to balance those two?
Well, I will say, and this is kind of getting to the personal side, I am single, so it's kind of been my significant other. um, but there are the way women work, right, and the way we're not only do we build businesses. There's been so many women that are entrepreneurs that share their story at Linking Women. Not only do we build businesses, but we build communities. And so Linking Into Women has been a testament to that. There are volunteers that say, hey, I can help greet people at the door. And, a really amazing example of this, and I would call her a partner in crime of mine, is Allie Bretnocker.
Yeah.
I would say year five-ish. We worked at a startup together, and she said, hey, I can help you with this. And I'm like, thank you. And so not only did she help, she transformed how we were communicating with our members. She helped to make all the disparate systems and technologies we were using have one place where we had a way to communicate in a fashion that kept the group in the know. And so she was huge. She's not just volunteer. She was my
Yeah.
partner
Yeah.
for years and years and years. But that's how it is. It's bigger than me. It is. I have women that say I have a butler students that want to help you, and people people just volunteer. It's amazing, and
Yeah.
so it's not just me. Um, and I would say the spirit of Linking Into Women is the women in our community that
Yeah.
keep it going. Yeah.
So I can say that I have made near and dear friends and lifelong connections through attending Linking Indie Women. And I mean, I can't even put words around how that feels. Like, um, and I can't even count how many people it is either. I mean, it's crazy. And then every now and then I'll meet someone and they'll say, I think I know you. And then they'll go, oh, you've been to Linking Any Women. And I'm like, yes, one of my favorite things. So you really have created an amazing community of women. But what I want to touch on with Adobe though, too, is how do they support you in that? Because I mean,
Mhm.
it's a big commitment, right? And you do have a very significant day job. So how
Yeah.
do they allow you to do that? And as women in a professional setting, how do we find or how do we inspire our employers to support that type of effort?
That's a great question. And so I will say, Linking Into Women it's a women's group, but we do have men that support us. We have men that come to Linking to Women, and it has evolved to we've got some really great allies out there.
Yeah.
And I will say that there have been two very important, integral men that have helped support me to continue to do this in my career. One was Troy Burke. When I was working at Right On Interactive, he said, go do this, and I was working at a startup. So my time, my children were very small at the
Yeah.
time. I have older kids now. So, um, they've grown up in
Yeah.
this with me. And he was just a huge advocate for go out there and do this. And then when I worked at Adobe, when I started Adobe, my my manager, Darren Waite, I mean, he couldn't say enough good things about it. Asked me questions about it, just made me feel like it was important to him that I continue to do that, and it was just extremely special. I've been fortunate in that way, and so. And also the nice thing about it, logistically, once a month, it's 7:30. It starts at 7:38 in the morning.
Yeah.
Um, People on the West Coast aren't up then working, so
Yeah.
just a little bit of, head start to to get that, going, and then, start my day. But it invigorates me. It's what gives me energy, and just you've been, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things that it makes you feel really good about
Yeah.
people.
It's one of those things that when you walk in, and even I've walked in on days that I didn't know anyone there but you or Allie. Um, and but yet I walk away knowing 4 or 5 other women and taking their cards with me, or reconnecting later. And it is just an amazing experience. And I don't think you've had any droughts of, finding inspiring speakers, because it's almost like every time it's like you up the ante every time.
I really love the way women just it they promote each other, right? They're the way that women say, "Oh, I know this person would be wonderful. You should talk to this person." And the way it just kind of evolves itself, has been amazing. And I think the women, um, one of the biggest things that I love about Land Community Women is that the women that have never spoken in front of a group before, to share their truth, to share
Yes.
their story, or going through a life transition of being in the corporate world and going to start their own thing. And yeah,
Yeah.
I those are just near and dear to my heart. And I feel like that's exactly what it is. It's giving women a platform to start down their new journey. So yeah.
So I'll never forget the coffee meeting that Allie and I had. And it wasn't even related to me potentially being a speaker. We had just, obviously met through Linking Indie Women, and she and I were
Mhm,
like, let's get coffee sometime. We want to get to know each other a little bit
mhm.
more. And we were at Calvin Fletcher's, and she says, you should speak. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't. She said, Lisa, you have so many amazing stories. And I said, but yeah, no, I'm good. You guys have
Mhm,
got some stellar speakers. And she's like, no, seriously, I'm going to talk to Sarah. And
mhm.
then she said, we want to get you on the schedule. And then it didn't happen. And I kept thinking, oh, they better not ask me. I'm disappeared. And then I walked in on a Wednesday, and literally as I walked in, I prayed, God, please
Mhm,
don't let them say anything about me speaking. My time has passed. Like, they have gotten all these amazing
mhm,
speakers, and my time has passed. And I did not walk 2 steps in, and Allie says, we need to talk to you after the session. Like, we want to get you on the schedule. But what's really funny about that is that, had I spoken 2 years before, my story would have been totally different than when I actually spoke. So I think there's a lot to be said for like the
mhm.
timing, and God's timing. It was divine intervention, but to be able to share your story is a very okay. I see Molly's comment, very serendipitous. Yes, uh,
Mhm,
because God knew that my time wasn't initially when Allie mentioned something,
mhm.
because there were going to be a lot of other additions to my story that probably were more meaningful to people listening. So what would you say to someone who may be listening who's never shared their story before? Like, what do you think about it? How do you feel about it? And how would you inspire them to think about sharing their story?
Well, first of all, I started linking into women, and I I don't think I've ever shared this with anyone before, but in speech class in college, I failed it because I started crying and I never went back. I was like, you know what? That was so embarrassing. I'm good. I'm done, But
Yeah.
throughout in my career, um, I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and said, I'm going to um I'm going to make this happen. This is about the women's stories, and I can be up here and I can introduce women and all of that. And so I think what it is it's everyone has a story to share. You never know who you are inspiring. You never know. There's so many stories out of Linking Indie Women that I will never know, of women that have met each other, of women that have shared their story, and other things have happened in their lives, and the impact, the trickle down impact that makes. Everybody is important and has a story to share. And so I would just encourage women to 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 be comfortable being uncomfortable with
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
because it's that first step. Um, I shared my story at Linking Indie Women, and I thought I would never do that ever.
And you've
And
only done it once, and that was fairly recently, right? Like in
mhm,
the last year or so?
yeah, in the last 2 years, right
2 years.
before the
Yeah.
pandemic, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I got to know how all the other women have felt.
Yeah.
And it is scary. It is. But when you look around the room and you see our community, and you feel at ease. It was this comforting feeling of, I was in the right spot. This is the right place to try it, and to fail or to not. I mean, there really is no failing. It's not. I mean, you're up there, and the women are really great about not only making you feel comfortable with asking questions, really great questions.
Yeah.
So I just encourage everyone to share their story.
Yeah. So, like Evelyn said in the comments, it's nerve wracking, but very necessary. I think it's a very healing process
Hmm.
to be able to share your story in a group. Um, and like you said, I mean, even if it just touches one person, then it's been worth it. So,
I
so
Yeah,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I remember Ashley Sieb coming up to me after I shared my story, and for those of you that have been around our community, she's a force of nature too.
Yes,
She's
it
great.
is.
And she came up to me, she was like, "Welcome to the vulnerability hangover."
So true.
I was like, the next day, I did certainly feel like, oh my gosh, I poured my heart out. I gave everybody a glimpse into who I am and how I
Yeah.
feel, and it felt really good. It really did. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I think you and I I know that we've had a lot of similar life experiences.
Hmm.
And so young women or people in general can look at us and think, oh, they've got it all together. But oh, honey, what you don't know,
Oh
you
yeah,
know? And
yeah.
so to get up there and share that, and to let all of those women, young and old, realize
Hmm.
that we're human and we don't have all of our stuff together, even though we may look like it. I think that gives people just kind of a sense of peace, like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like, it's not just me, right?
Hmm. Yeah, we're in this life together.
Yes.
And we have shared experiences, whether or not we've told each other those
Yeah.
experiences. But there's so much comfort in doing that.
Yeah, so linking indie women is not only professional women, but it's women who are entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
women from all walks of life, right?
Yes, yes, all walks of life. We've had I mean, we've had business owners, we've had sales leaders, we've had entrepreneurs, I mean, business owners. We had race car drivers, we've had artists, we've had singers, we've had,
Yeah.
you know, podcast gurus, we've
Yeah.
had book writers, and um just it yeah, everything you can think of, I think.
Yeah, I know. It's wonderful. So for any women out there who are listening, watching, third Wednesday of every month, you would not be disappointed to hear anyone who's been on the slate for these talks. I mean, it is just absolutely inspiring. And
Yeah.
Sarah, I really was surprised that you hadn't shared your story before you did, because after all, this is your baby, right? But you're happy to stay in the background and let everyone else share their stories. But you have some amazing life stories yourself, and so I think a lot of the women were really touched by hearing that from you. And also I think the timing thing for you when you did speak was divine intervention as well, because you had a lot more life experiences at that point. So
Yes, I certainly wasn't ready to share my story when I started linking any women. I think, I mean, I went through a divorce when I started linking any women,
yeah.
and it was a very traumatic experience. And I think that also was one of those things that was something that kept me going in the midst of all that turmoil. And so, yeah, I wasn't really ready at that time to share my story. But what was what was interesting is Charlotte, gosh, her name is escaping me. She has two last names. Shoot, she
She
did
spoke at the speakeasy.
advancing indie women. Charlotte.
Yes. Yeah.
She was supposed to speak that day, and had to cancel pretty much the last minute. And so I shared my story because we, we were out a speaker then.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind
Yeah.
of had to.
And so I thought to myself, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And I did. And because I had seen so many women share their stories, it was actually pretty easy for me. I wrote down three things,
Hmm.
and just went for it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And you did a fantastic job. It was inspiring.
Thank you.
Well, I know I have just been so grateful for this community. And like I said early on, I can count on more than one hand how many friendships have been created as a result of what you have created in this community. And it is just, you just can't put words around it. It's so special. It's truly, truly special.
Well, thank
Um,
you.
and I think that any woman out there who is looking for community like this needs to come and just see what it's all about, and come early so you can network with people before you hear the speaker speak.
Yes.
Um,
And I would
yes,
also say that there's a lot of connections that have made, I mean, people have partnered with each other through Linking Indie Women, businesses have been created.
yeah,
There's there's been some really incredible stories
yeah.
that have happened.
Well, so one of mine, and you may know this, you may not know this, but when the shutdowns happened, Stephanie with Send a Friend Lasagna and I partnered together for the Mother's Day special that she ran. So we did Send a Mom Lasagna and Flowers. And we did 43 orders for Mother's Day. That was when we were shut down. We couldn't see our moms and people couldn't go places to
Mhm.
eat and
Yeah.
all that. And it was just incredible. And so, yeah, so partnerships have been formed, businesses have been
Mhm.
started. And during that time, you guys pivoted. Let's talk about that just for a second. We have a
Yeah.
couple more minutes.
Yeah.
But so you really had to think about pivoting Linking Indie Women during that time to keep all of us connected and to
Mhm.
keep that encouragement going when we couldn't actually get together in person. So how did that happen? How did you think through that?
Yeah, so so there was a study done about 4 years ago before the pandemic, with at Brigham Young, and one of the key predictors of living a long life is your social interactions. It's
Mhm.
not your necessarily your family members, but it's the person you talk to at Starbucks, it's the person that you casually, have a connection with, throughout your day. And when the pandemic happened, we really felt that void as a community. We were like, we can't be there in person, but we have to keep going because we need this connection. And
Yeah.
so we pivoted to oh, sorry about that, to virtual. Sorry. And when we pivoted to virtual, we found that we had over 150 women coming. And then we did these spin-offs of getting into small groups so that women could feel a little bit more connected. So out of that 150 women, we would have like, 10 groups of 10 or whatever. And the women that stayed on, and they were able to build a community out of that. And so some of the women that now that we're doing back in person, we're going back in person, some of those women have said, that kept me going during the pandemic. I lost my job. I couldn't get out of bed in the morning, and coming to Linking Indie Women just kept me going. And so, yeah, that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I love the way of, obviously you're a tech person. You've been in the tech space forever. So, it was kind of natural to think through that whole, okay, how do we do this from a technology
Mhm,
perspective and keep it going? And it was a beautiful thing. I was able to
mhm.
stay on in some of those breakout sessions afterwards, and they were very, very inspiring. So thank you guys so much for doing this. And I can see my friend Evelyn with houseplants and stuff. So Sarah, I
Hi,
have to tell
Evelyn.
you, my daughter has a business in Speedway, and this past weekend, she has been wanting to get together Speedway women business owners forever to help just encourage them and
Yeah.
spotlight them. And being a photographer, she offered headshots, and we did this little networking thing. And I told her, I said, this kind of reminds me of like a little Linking Indie Women. And
Yes.
so, yeah, and I think every community needs something like that. And
Mhm.
Evelyn is in Speedway. She's new to Indianapolis. She's from DC. And Evelyn, I'm going to tell you, you need to come to Linking Indie Women third Wednesday of every month. And yeah, so it just was really inspiring to even create like a little offshoot of that, and then
Mhm.
encourage those women to come to what you're doing, because that expands it even into Indianapolis. And I think we just need to all be there for each other to encourage each other. So
I think, I was on a podcast with Lindsay Hine, and um, it's Why Is Everyone Yelling? I think it's a
yeah,
podcast. And one of the things was, you can start a Linking Indie Women in any community.
yeah,
It's amazing what one person, just raising their hand saying, I'll just host. And it's really that first follower that
yeah,
kind of, gets everyone going and proves that it's needed in the community. So I think there are so many wonderful women community events that are happening in our city
yeah,
that there's just, Jennifer Madgley is doing awesome, lunches, and, Indie Mavens doing all of their events, and yeah, Top Floor Women.
yeah.
There's lots of opportunity for us to get connected in our city.
Well, I have to say, you listed off all of those, but you are the pioneer. I'm not kidding. So, it's Women's History Month. You are making history in Indianapolis. You're 11 years now with Linking Indie Women. It's only getting bigger and better. Yeah, so we just appreciate everything that you've done for this community, and will continue to do. And I can't say personally, I just can't say thank you enough. I wear my shirt all the time.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, I need to make more. I need to make
You
some
do,
more.
because
Yes.
I wore mine to the last. I didn't get to go this month, but uh last month, I think, or a month before, I wore my shirt, and I had like 3 people asking, "Where can I get the shirt?" I was like,
I know. I need to do that. I will
"Great."
do that. I will do that.
Yeah,
And then the coffee mugs too. Those are a hit as
yes.
well.
Yeah.
But
So, okay, so we like to keep this short. We don't like to go more than 30 minutes, but I could talk to you for another 30 minutes. But what words of wisdom would you leave for women in Indianapolis, whether they're in a professional setting,
Mhm.
an entrepreneur, or whatever? Just words of encouragement or inspiration at this point.
I would say reach out and go to a women's event. There are many, in our city, and I would say, especially now, you know, the pandemic, we're kind of getting out of it, but we've we, we've suffered a lot for
Yeah,
the last
yeah,
2 years, and you don't have to suffer alone.
yeah,
there's a lot of women out here in our city that would embrace you and help you and connect with you, and vice versa. If you have gifts and talents and you have the ability to share a connection, do that with fellow women in our city because we need it now more than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
I am so glad you said yes. And so just a little teaser, and I want you to watch next week. So we did a little story for Do Something Indy on the Speedway event that we did on Sunday. And I interviewed all these women. We had 13 show up. And in a little town of Speedway, that's a lot
That's
of women.
awesome.
And then
Yes.
I think we had 6 or 7 that couldn't attend that want to be a part of it and they want more. So they've said, we want to do this again. So there's obviously a need.
Yes.
And all of them are going to get personal invitations to Linking Any Women. So watch out.
Okay, I will.
I hope you have room.
I will tell you, the very first Linking Any Women, we had 14 women in Noodles and Company.
Yeah.
And it just grows. And
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is amazing. And yes, Speedway, I saw the event, the pictures, and
Yeah.
I was like, those are some incredible women.
Yeah.
So
Well, and we didn't even know. Like there were some that we knew that we reached out to, but then we put a
Mhm.
social media post out there and we were getting all these messages. I was like, we did not even know there were this many women business owners in Speedway. So
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it's like you just got to put a little bit out there, and then
Mhm.
see who responds. And obviously, you started something that was very necessary, and the response, even now, I mean, it just continues to grow. So thank you so much. I can't think of a better woman to come to close to the end of our month of Women's History Month to interview. So thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you, my friend. And I did want to announce our next speaker.
Oh, please, yes.
Okay, it's Allie Bretnacher.
Oh, yes. She's gonna do it.
Yeah, she's gonna do it. Yeah, as you know, she started
Yay.
her own business and she's killing it. And yeah,
Yeah, mom, business owner. Oh my goodness.
advocate running for um, it's the mini marathon. I think.
Yep.
Yep, I can't remember the name of the organization, but she's leading that too. She's a superwoman.
Okay, so wait, what is she leading around the mini marathon? I need more information.
There is, I need to get the right
Is it
name of
part of the
it.
festival?
It is the organization. It's a fund. It's an organization that.
Okay, we can add it to
Yeah,
the comments
yes,
later.
I
Yeah,
definitely need to get the. I don't want to misspeak, but
yeah. But she's
yeah.
a big runner. Her business is focused around running and
Mhm.
supporting women and people who are entering events and things like that, which I've shared with my sister. She's a marathon runner. So yeah, she's doing some amazing things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yay,
I
her
know.
time has come.
Yes, yes, right.
Yeah,
So I'm so excited.
awesome. All right, well, with that, Sarah, again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Love ya.
you. Love you too. And I
All
can't
right,
wait to see how this Speedway women, blossom through your efforts. So
so we may just have to have you come speak. It'll be short. We won't do
okay.
the hour and a half
Okay.
you do. It'll be very short.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye.